On today's show, will the Suns be fun to watch this year? And if they are, why? What does the next great Phoenix Suns team look like? And how soon until the Suns bring yet another star to Phoenix? Let's talk about that and much more on this edition of Locked On Phoenix Suns.
You are Locked On Suns, your daily Phoenix Suns podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome back into Locked On Phoenix Suns. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Benjamin Garcia, host of the Ben Garcia Show Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays on YouTube at 7 a.m., and as well as a credentialed Suns media member. Thanks for making Locked On Suns your first listen here on this beautiful Friday. Don't forget Locked On Suns is free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. So click that follow or subscribe button to do what thousands of Suns fans have already done. Become an everydayer and get locked on to the Phoenix Suns right here each and every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. So, there is a lot of things going on in the Phoenix Suns world, and we're going to dive right into it. The season is around the corner, and yesterday I talked about the positive predictions, meaning we know about the things that won't work. I'm sorry. We know about the things that might not work. I don't want to just blanketly cover statement like I don't things are not going to work, because we don't know what is going to happen in this next Suns season. However, I want to talk about what the next great Phoenix Suns team looks like as well. But before we get there, I've told you guys numerous times that although I don't think the Suns are a playoff team this year, and I think there's a lot of good reasoning for that, I don't know, even if you say addition by subtraction with Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal, maybe there's a world I could totally see it where Bradley Beal is without a doubt an addition by a subtraction kind of player. Kevin Durant, I just don't see a world where you can have an addition by subtraction from a top 10 basketball player of all time. But I don't know. I won't rule out the possibility that maybe his leadership and infectious attitude was so bad potentially in the locker room that it just threw the Suns season right out the window. I can't subscribe into that. I don't buy that, but maybe it could happen. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I'd probably lean towards no. But what I've continued to say is, which I believe matters way more than just making the playoffs, is that the Phoenix Suns will be incredibly fun to watch this year. And a lot of that stems from two main things. The first thing is this, and we talked about this yesterday on Locked On Phoenix Suns, the Thursday edition, where Vasa Micic had mentioned that Kevin Durant was kind of over Devin Booker. Devin Booker was living in Kevin Durant's shadow most of last season and for the duration of when Kevin Durant was there. And it kind of made Devin Booker a second fiddle to Kevin Durant, even though this is Devin Booker's town. We all know that. But I believe with a Devin Booker-led team, where he's the best player and as well as the leader of the team, it's just a better place to be. And here's what I mean by that. There are not a lot of instances in successful teams in NBA history where the best player is not the leader of the team. Like you have the Heatles years ago where Dwayne Wade was clearly the leader of that team, but LeBron James was no doubtably the best player on that team. Maybe, I mean, like even the Lakers. I mean, look at even the Warriors. I mean, that's a good example too. Kevin Durant was the best player, but Steph Curry, who is probably right behind him, was the leader of that team. Draymond Green, the leader of that team. But it's no surprise that most teams that win a championship, the best player is also the leader. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, that would be the leader. Giannis Antetokounmpo a couple years ago, leader. Maybe even you could argue the Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum thing. Who's the leader of that team? Like, it can happen. It's just more difficult to do. Michael Jordan was always the better player. Scottie Pippen was always the number 2. Jordan was the best player and the leader. It's just hard when you win a championship to have someone that is not also your leader. And now Devin Booker goes back into being your best player and your leader. I'm not saying it means that they're going to win a championship, but I do think it is going to make them more successful, less cooks in the kitchen, if you will. There's one head chef now. It's Devin Booker. We all know who we take orders from. We all know who needs to have the ball in their hands more than anyone else. It's Devin Booker. And I think that goes a long way. I don't deny Vasimicic's comments when he said that Devin Booker lived in Kevin Durant's shadow. My point of that was, no bleep. Of course he is. Kevin Durant's a top 10 basketball player of all time. He has a gravitational pull to him when talking about basketball. And so that brings me to my next point. Devin Booker is now the leader of this team, and that changes a lot of different things. People know exactly who to go to. We know the head of the snake. We're not guessing who it might be. That's a real thing in leadership. There's no confusion. Here's number 2. And I think it's the biggest thing that people keep downplaying. The Suns have a legitimate young core. And I remember even in the dead of the Suns seasons where they were awful for that decade straight where they missed the playoffs. Even when they were awful, you could talk me into watching Dragon Bender. You could talk me into watching Marquise Chris or early Eric Bledsoe or even Shannon Brown when he was here for a spell. People bought into that guy. You can buy into young players. You can tell yourself they're going to be awesome. John Voida was just on this show 2 days ago and told me he doesn't think as highly of Ryan Dunn than I do. But I am a sucker for watching young players on this team blossom into stars. And I think the Suns have a multitude of guys that you could sell me on all of them. Oso Ighodaro, I have my concerns about being a really productive NBA championship level player, meaning he's playing on an NBA championship team. I worry about the issues offensively. I think defensively, he's just good, not great. But outside of Oso, who I think is a very smart basketball player, and I think can develop into something more, I am very high on Kaman Malawatch. His lateral quickness, his touch around the rim, his ability to catch lobs, and the fact that defensively, I believe on the perimeter, it's going to make him incredibly dangerous because he's not going to be able to be switchable with when point guards try to get a bigger guy on him. He will be able to stick with them, similar to like DeAndre Ayton did. Rasheer Fleming, I can buy into him being one of the better 3-and-D players in the NBA. Kobe Brea, I think he could be a microwave scorer. I think Devin Booker's a bad comp. I think a better three-point shooter Malik Monk fits his mold. Having a young core is so exciting, and it's a really good place for the Suns to be. It's not just the fact that they have all these players. It's the fact that they have a multitude of them, meaning we're going to be talking about these players and debating who could be the best one. And it's what's going to carry us through the whole season. And I'm not saying they're all going to be hits. In fact, there's a large chance most of them will be duds. But projecting players is more fun. Not to mention having a young group of players out there fighting it out, duking it out for supremacy in the NBA, having nothing else on their table, or in front of them outside of just proving people wrong. How many times last year did we watch Suns games and the younger, more athletic, twitchier team took the Suns' lunch and stuffed them in a locker? They had more energy. They ran up and down the floor better. The Suns are going to do the same thing this year with their young core. I'm really high on Kobe Brea and Kaman Malawatch and Ryan Dunn and Rasheer Fleming. If just one of those guys turns out to be an all-star, the complete trajectory of the Phoenix Suns timeline changes completely. Then you're talking about Devin Booker having another co-star, and it costs them nothing. Having a young talent around what is now a true leader in Devin Booker is going to be a great thing for the Suns this year. Like, I'm going to be honest with you. If they make the playoffs, awesome. It means a lot of things went right. But as long as they're not worse than they were last year, or significantly worse than they were last year, this team's going to be incredibly fun to watch. Because we're going to be talking about them pulling off upsets against the Thunder miraculously, potentially, or the Cleveland Cavaliers. And that is going to be like winning the championship in a sense, meaning it's just going to feel good. It's going to feel rewarding. Whereas last year, it is really hard trying to be at the top. It is really hard being championship or bust. Because you know what that means? It's a 99% likelihood you are going to fail. That's just plain simple. You are going to fail. Whereas when you are the hunters, you're the ones catching people by surprise. You're the ones beating the Cavaliers on a random Tuesday night because they didn't bring their A game. The young youth of this core being mentored by Devin Booker is going to move mountains in Suns fans' minds. It's going to be a ton of fun. So when asking about if this Suns season is going to be fun, there's only one answer to it. It's going to be way more fun than it was last year. Because last year was championship or bust. And that means if you don't win the championship, it's a terrible season. You could talk me into this being one of the better Suns seasons in the last 4 years if they just are the same as they were last year. Because then I can talk into Devin Booker taking this team to the next level. Because I can talk you into Rasheer Fleming or Ryan Dunn taking that next step. The Suns are going to be fun this year. So just because you don't pick them to be a playoff team doesn't mean it can't hold immense value that this team is just fun and holds your attention. And they're going to do that this year. I mean, I can almost, maybe I can't guarantee it, but I feel really, really good about it. With that being said, what does the next great Phoenix Suns team look like? Let's talk about that and much more next. First, today's show is brought to you by my friends over at Monarch Money. As we click over to it right here, most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there is Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or even on your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without even touching a spreadsheet. You know, I've told you guys this a few times. I have way too many, and I really do mean far too many subscription services to whatever it is, Paramount Plus. I was paying for 2 Spotify accounts recently. Had I had Monarch Money, that would have been an issue. I've been saving money there and being able to use that money elsewhere. So don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONNBA. So as I was planning for the show today, and I was taking time to obviously prepare this show, I was thinking about something stemming off of yesterday. I don't want to end the week being negative or feeling or having opinions that could be negative. I will give those, but right now, I want to be more in the positive sphere. I wanted to end the week like that, and it got me thinking: what does the next great Phoenix Suns team look like? What does that look like? Is Devin Booker still the head of the snake? Is Jalen Green there? Well, I kind of teased it in the last segment, but maybe you didn't catch on to it. The next great Phoenix Suns team, the next realistic great Phoenix Suns team looks like Devin Booker being here, looks like Jalen Green being more efficient, and we've talked about that. We know what that means. But even more than all of those things, there's some other things around it. But the Suns are highly, highly dependent on Malawatch, Rasheer Fleming, or Ryan Dunn taking a massive leap. Because if one of those guys does take a massive leap this year, in any sense, where they give you complete and supreme confidence that this player is going to be a star, it changes absolutely everything. You no longer have to go looking for a star. You stick within. You build within. Look at the Oklahoma City Thunder. They didn't trade for Jalen Williams or SGA or Chet Holmgren. The really only player they traded for and brought in were Alex Caruso and Isaiah Hartenstein. The next great Phoenix Suns team looks like a team built around Devin Booker and someone else stepping up to the plate and being a star/superstar in this league. Because if that happens, all bets are off. It's why it drives me crazy when people just write off this team. Like, people will paint me as negative, and it doesn't bother me, but it is kind of annoying when I am the one that continues to say numerous times that this team is closer to competing than you think. And my whole thing is, if the Suns just look good this year, serviceable, if they make the play-in, I think that's going to be enough to lure a star or superstar to Phoenix. My quick rant on that is, Phoenix is always going to be a supreme destination for athletes. It doesn't matter the sport. In the NBA, which is a winter sport, Phoenix reigns supreme because people don't have to shovel out snow to get to their car, and the state tax here ain't as high as it is in New York or, for that matter, California. The Suns are always going to be a supreme destination. So that was always my argument. If the Suns are just serviceable this year, if they make the play-in this year, all they have to do is bring in one other person to this group, and we're talking about a team that could compete next year for a championship. Someone massive could become available, and the Suns could scoop them up because they see the potential of the Suns. Whether it's through a sign and trade, a regular trade, assigning someone, it could happen. But what's even more realistic is Ryan Dunn becomes a much better three-point shooter, handles the ball, gets to the rim at will, and becomes Devin Booker's running mate for the next half decade. Or that Malawatch hits his peak of the Rudy Gobert level player that I think he can be. But I think even better than Rudy Gobert. I'm going to keep saying that. I don't give a damn if it's something that maybe you guys think is unrealistic. I've seen that dude play. That dude could be the next Rudy Gobert, and I think he could be better than him. So all it takes is for one of those guys to be awesome. And then the Suns have everything else. We assume if Rasheer Fleming has the ceiling that we think he does, and he's close to it because he stayed longer in college than other people, then then the Suns obviously have one of the biggest things, a 3-and-D guy. Grayson Allen, shoot the three-point shot, play a little bit of defense. Malawatch comes into his own. Mark Williams is here. And then it also looks like having a leader at the head coaching position. Over the past couple of years, the Suns have not had a head coach that could connect with players. I had my issues with Monty Williams. I thought it was time to move on from him when the Suns did. I didn't think he was a bad head coach, but he got out-schemed by Tyronn Lue. He got out-schemed by Willie Green. He got out-schemed by Jason Kidd. All of them in the playoffs, in the biggest moments, he got out-schemed. But damn, could the guy build a culture. And damn, could he get guys like Chris Paul to respect him. Guys like Devin Booker to fall in line. If the Suns have that head of the stake in Jordan Knott, like I think they do, someone who understands the organizational alignment that Matt Ishbia continues to preach and Brian Gregory continues to tout. Jordan Knott has to be the head of the snake. We cannot be, or the head of the snake in terms of a coaching sense. We know Devin Booker's the head of the snake on the court. But someone that can relate to players, that's a massive deal in this league, guys. a massive deal. So Jordan Knott has to be that guy. We cannot be talking about next year trying to find another head coach or feeling like we're stuck with Jordan Knott because the Suns don't want to move on from him and pay yet another tab. We just can't be doing that. And so the Suns already have, I believe, the supporting cast around. I think this team is so much better, 4 through 12 on the roster. Like last year, they were awesome 1 through 3, or at least we thought. And the Suns aren't as good with their top 3 players if you compare them to the top 3 players of last year. But they are undoubtedly deeper from the 4 spot all the way to 12. They're deep. And all they need is one of these young rookies to hit and be a star, and Jordan Knott to be the head of the snake as a coach. If that happens, a lot of good things can happen in Phoenix, and the next great Phoenix Suns team can be closer than you think. And I think it is. How soon till the Suns bring another star to Phoenix? Or would it be a massive mistake to do so? Have we learned our lesson? We'll talk about it. Next. First, got to tell you about my friends over at FanDuel. Football season is here. Thursday night football is going as we're talking, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't miss offer. This is absolutely insane, guys. I still can't believe this is an offer that FanDuel is doing. Right now, new customers commit just $5, and if your bet wins, you get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. That is 300. Listen, I loved using the FanDuel Sportsbook. When it first started, when betting became legal in Phoenix, the number one app I loved to use was FanDuel. They make it so easy to use interface. But the biggest thing that I like about FanDuel, I think it makes it easier. Real live odds right in front of you. I'm not a big money line guy. I'm a lines guy. And as you guys know, I cover the Cardinals for Cardinal Squad Show with Locked On Podcast Network, and I do it for the Ben Garcia Show in my own personal stuff. And if I'm looking at that Cardinals line this weekend, it was 4.5. Now it's 6.5. At 4.5, I'd probably like the Cardinals to cover. And at 6.5, I like it too. But just getting a little queasy there and a little close to something like a backdoor cover from the Panthers. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. All right, closing out the show. Let's finish it up talking about this. Would it be a mistake for the Phoenix Suns to bring in another star? And how soon could you expect the Suns to bring in another star? I am like a scorned boyfriend. Like the girl that I was dating that I thought was going to be, the woman of my dreams, right? Just dumped me on my arse, and now I'm a soy boy. So now I don't want to date anyone. That is truly how I feel when it comes to bringing in another star to Phoenix. I didn't mind the Jonathan Kuminga stuff because it felt like, what the Suns could potentially give up for Jonathan Kuminga was more or less nothing. And the risk was worth the reward, meaning it was a calculated risk, meaning you weren't giving up too much. And if it blew up in your face, it didn't really matter. It wasn't like the Bradley Beal and Kevin Durant stuff. But now when you talk about your Trae Youngs or other stars that could be available, it just feels like a mistake. Anyone who would be traded for the assets that the Phoenix Suns have, which is not much, I would be okay with passing on as the next pairing to Devin Booker. The Suns need to focus on within. They need to focus on making one of their young players a quote-unquote superstar. That is the much faster and better way to success. Look around the NFL, the NBA, maybe, even Major League Baseball to an extent. The best teams, even the richest ones, are homegrown. They always are. Draft and develop. If you want to bring in a LeBron James or a generational talent to that standard, then yeah, you do so. I'm not upset that Matt Ishbia went after these stars. Hell, I was the one that led the charge for Kevin Durant. But I've learned my lesson. I'm okay. Now, if the Suns want to bring in a player that fits the mold of the team and is a high-level player, maybe not a star or a superstar, but like an Alex Caruso type, where the Suns are close to competing and they just need that extra oomph, absolutely. Unfortunately speaking, I think the Suns are going to have a better season than people think. I think, it's an anomaly to think that all Suns fans think the Suns are going to make the playoffs next year. I think most think that they're going to stink. I don't think that's the case. But what I would say is, I do believe that the Suns are going to go after a star next year. Even though I believe the Suns are going to have a good season, I think Matt Ishbia might go after a big star. It doesn't mean they're going to get them. But what I would say is I believe it would be a mistake. So when we talk about how soon, I think it could be as soon as the trade deadline. Matt Ishbia has shown signs of maturing as the Phoenix Suns governor. He's done a lot of things that it felt like has been mature. He didn't go after the flashy, sexy hires. He went and got Jordan Ott. He brought in Brian Gregory. He's built this team within. He's trying to draft and develop. But until I see it for a large portion of time, it does kind of feel like Matt Ishbia is going to go big fish hunting whenever he can, to whatever extent he will. I think it would be a mistake. It doesn't mean that they'll get them, but the question is how soon till the Suns bring in another star. I think it could be next year. But more realistically, the second the Suns get draft picks, I think Matt Ishbia will pick up the phone to try to bring that next guy here. And I think that would be a mistake for now. Not high-level role players like Alex Caruso. I'm talking about name brand stars like Trae Young. That's a mistake. Drafting and developing is the way to go. And it has always been the way to go. And it was staring right at us. And we made that mistake, and that's okay. They were aggressive. It's not like they went out and got bad players. Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal were seen as great players. But it was a mistake. And you have to be willing to adapt and change those mistakes and fix them. And ultimately, the Suns will eventually do that if they learn. And so how soon? Hell, man, I think they could do it at the trade deadline. I think that's what the Suns would be willing to do if they had the assets. They're in the business of accumulating stars. But I would say it's probably the wrong thing to do. The Suns need to be focused on building within, building a culture, and drafting and developing. And I don't think I'm alone there. I think most Suns fans would share that same sentiment. With that being said, guys, it has been Locked On Phoenix Suns. I appreciate you guys being here on the show. Being here on the show. I care about each and every one of you guys. You guys continuously, I couldn't be more thankful that you guys continuously make this my job to be able to come here and talk Phoenix Suns basketball. And of course, I do Cardinal stuff as well, but I'm thankful. And thanks for tuning into Locked On Phoenix Suns. However you think the show could be better, let me know. Drop a question in the comment section. I'll answer it potentially. Let me know of guests that you'd love to see on Locked On Phoenix Suns. I'd love to bring them on, and it'd be fun to talk some Suns with them. So with that being said, guys, the season is almost here. Truly it is. And so is Media Day and all that jazz. So with that being said, get ready for the Suns season. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Follow me on all social media platforms at Ben Garcia Show. And for everyone in the chat tuning in, it's been Locked On Phoenix Suns, and I will talk to you guys on Monday.